It's November, which means it's that time of year again, Noirvember. And last year I did 12 films noir that I think everyone should watch. It was such a massive success for the channel that I'm going to do part two. And I'm going to, without further ado, I'm just going to get right into it. Number one, I'm going to go with Alias Nick Beale. This features two great performances from the great Thomas Mitchell and especially from Ray Milland, who obviously won an Oscar for The Lost Weekend, but he's brilliant in this as this kind of devil on the shoulder of this politician. He's trying to persuade him not to do the right thing, trying to persuade him to do the wrong thing. And why does he want him to do this? Well, that's exactly what the crux of the movie is about, and it's so dark and it's so mysterious. You're trying to figure out what this guy really wants and who is he really. It's got a brilliant kind of hook and a brilliant kind of twist that you won't see coming. Really recommend this. First off, that's an Alias Nick Beale. Second up, I'm going to go with Gilda. We covered this on the podcast this week actually, and it's obviously featuring an amazing performance from Rita Hayworth, directed by John Farrow. And she's just a fantastic kind of femme fatale, but she's not really a femme fatale, Rita Hayworth. There's a lot more under the surface that kind of it slowly starts to be unpeeled and unlayered, and she's more to her than your average femme fatale, and for that reason alone I think Gilda is well worth a place on this list. Next up, The Asphalt Jungle. This is starring Sterling Hayden. It's starring a bunch of other actors from the 50s, and it's obviously directed by the great John Huston. We covered this on the podcast actually a couple of months ago, but this is not just a great heist movie, it's also a great noir movie. And it's got everything you want from a noir. It's got a cast of ne'er-do-wells, it's got a really dark heart running all throughout the film. So well worth a watch. I think it's a fantastic movie, and The Asphalt Jungle is well worth your time. The Hitchhiker is directed by Ida Lupino. It's actually the very first film noir directed by a woman, so it has that distinction going for it. And it's a really fun, really kind of dark story of this guy, these two guys who pick up this hitchhiker, but they shouldn't have, because it turns out he's really bad news and they are in for a hell of a terrible car journey. And this guy, he's bad news, like I said. And it's really well directed by Ida Lupino in this kind of some really interesting locations, some really interesting use of lighting, and it's a fantastic noir. And obviously, like I said, it has the distinction of being the first noir directed by a woman, and it's a very good effort from that point of view as well. Speaking of Hitchhikers, Detour is a very brief film noir, but a very effective one all the same. This time this guy is the hitchhiker, so he gets picked up by this guy on the side of the road, and he's going to bring him to where he kind of needs to go. But yeah, things start to go very quickly sideways. It's got a brilliant voiceover narration, which is obviously a staple of the film noir genre. That kind of runs throughout the whole film, and it's really kind of sets the atmosphere and sets a really dark tone for the film. But like I said, it's just over an hour long, so from that point of view, like, there's really no reason not to watch this if you're a film noir fan. Brighton Rock is a post-war English noir set in the 40s, starring Richard Attenborough as this kind of gangster, this wannabe gangster. He's got a lot of ambition, and he's got a lot of plans, and he knows exactly how he's going to get there. And he's bad news. This guy, he's not a nice guy at all, and he gets involved in some very bad stuff, some very shady dealings, and it's all about kind of what's going to happen to him and what he's going to do. Is he going to continue down this really dark path? Fantastic ending, and it is an English noir, so from that point of view, it's a kind of a different feeling and a different tone than many of the movies I'm going to say on this list. So from that point of view, really think it's worth checking out. Angel Face is starring Robert Mitchum, and it's directed by the great Otto Preminger. We covered a couple of Preminger's other films noir on the podcast last year actually. We didn't actually cover Angel Face though, and this is a fantastic noir. I think it's right up there as one of his best noirs. Robert Mitchum, like I said, fantastic performance as this guy who gets a job with this wealthy family, but again, things start to go really awry. This woman takes a shine to him, but she also isn't overly enamored with her stepmom. So she gets involved in a really shady, dark plot, and Robert Mitchum's character is embroiled in this plot, and it's all about can he get himself out of it. And it's really fun stuff. Some fantastic shots throughout this, like you would expect from a Preminger film, and very much recommend this. The Killers is directed by Robert Siodmak, and it's starring Burt Lancaster in his actual film debut, and the great Ava Gardner. So two fantastic performances. Ava Gardner in particular is one of the great femme fatales in cinema. She commands every frame, and Burt Lancaster, the first time he sees this character, he's instantly enamored, instantly falls in love with her. You're really, really dark, really, really interesting, and really, really watchable. So from that point of view, I think The Killers is very much a staple, one of obviously often cited great noirs, and very much worth a watch. From The Killers to The Killing, directed by the great Stanley Kubrick, and this is also starring Sterling Hayden actually. And it's also a film noir, and it's also a heist, but obviously from a film noir point of view, it's, like I said, so well shot. Obviously a Kubrick film, so it's probably his first great film. I think a lot of people would probably agree with that. His first kind of great film where I think people would kind of that this is the very start of what would be considered obviously one of the great American directors of all time. And yeah, every frame Kubrick is just in his bag here. It's so great. Force of Evil is about two brothers. One of them is kind of a shady but kind of mostly lawful and mostly kind of an honest gambling proprietor, and the other brother is working for a really, really dangerous kind of gangster essentially organization. And these two brothers then start to clash because of the events of the movie, which I won't spoil, but it's well worth a watch. It's well worth going out of your way to see. Again, not the longest film. It's just over an hour long, but well worth a watch for that reason. And I don't think you'll regret seeing this. It's a really, really interesting kind of slightly different kind of noir. Dark Passage is starring Humphrey Bogart and his wife at the time, obviously Lauren Bacall. What's interesting with this is it's much of it is shot in a kind of a POV. It's kind of a shot from the first person, from Bogey's character's perspective. I won't spoil the reason as to why, but yeah, it's really interesting from that point of view, and obviously it lends itself then to some really interesting and really effective cinematography. Bacall and Bogart obviously had fantastic chemistry on screen and off screen, obviously. This is another example of that, because I think it elevates what would have been maybe potentially a standard kind of noir, but I think it definitely elevates it to another tier. So I think for that reason, I do think it's worth mentioning on this list. So that's Dark Passage. Last but certainly not least, Kiss Me Deadly is often cited as one of the last true films noir, and from my point of view, it's definitely one of the best as well. It's got a fantastic ending. It's so influential. I think there's so many great, amazing, iconic movies that in some way or other would have been inspired by Kiss Me Deadly, whether it be from the cinematography to kind of the MacGuffin to the ending. I won't spoil the ending, but the ending is very influential when it comes to one of the most iconic endings in cinema history. I won't say which movie, obviously, but I'll leave you to figure that one out for yourself. But Kiss Me Deadly, fantastic movie, and one of the best movies I've mentioned on this list in this video. So yeah, if you only check out a few of these movies, I think Kiss Me Deadly should be one of these. Fantastic film noir. Thanks for watching, everyone.